I'm going to tell you all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom, you're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support. Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. You'll notice things are a little different. No tie, just a hoodie, hanging out today. Very, very relaxed mood. All of the entire team is taking a break for the last 2 weeks of December. They've earned it, and we're just going over the top 10 UCR interviews. So welcome. Before we get started, of course, I want to pay some bills. I want to remind everybody that all of the music you hear on the show is provided by DOS Tapes. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below, so definitely go check them out. Also, consider joining our Patreon. As you saw in the commercial before, we are a public access channel, so we are supported by viewers like you. Every single dollar helps to keep us doing this show pretty much almost every day. So please, if you can, donate. And we also have Super Chats open if you got a question that you are absolutely dying to get answered, or if you just want to help out a homie during the holidays. Super Chats are a great way to do it. So thank you all so much for that. Truly, truly appreciate it. Let's hear. Also want to remind you guys, want to say thank you to all the moderators in the chat, all the moderators that are constantly here. Aaron Desario, Tina Tomaszewski, Rodrigo, UFOT. You guys are amazing. Don't forget to check out the links in the description below. Everyone who you'll see in this interview and everyone who is ever on the show, all of their links are down below, including links to our merch store. As you may or may not notice, I'm wearing Brian Sprague's merch today. Got my high neck sweater on. This is probably it's quickly become my favorite hoodie, I think. It's pretty safe to say I'm wearing this thing all the time. Last but not least, of course, want to say thank you to the KGRADB family. We are broadcasted there pretty much every day. We go live every Friday from 1 to 3. So thank you guys so much for being here. We got a little bit of news to get into before we go into our replay. But before we get into the news, I want to say hello to the people in the chat. Hello, Brett Hornick. Hello, one of my favorite shows. Thank you so damn much, man. Truly appreciate it. Swick McLeod, off work early today, sliding to the UCR chat. Thank you so much for sliding in, Swick McLeod. You don't have to slide in here, man. You could more than welcome to just walk in. Robert McHugh with a $5 donation. Tip of the hat for the work you do. Truly appreciate it, my friend. You are loved and appreciated around here. Data Derivations. Welcome. I think this is the first time I've seen your name in the chat, pop up in the chat. I could be wrong. We've had a lot of new subscribers join here in the last week. Over 2,000 subscribers in 1 week. So it was just incredible growth for us. I mean, that's almost half of what the channel had. So, I mean, pretty amazing stuff. Luke Cummings, thank you for being here. Too much information. UCR, thank you. Arlene Atkins-Zell, a big fan. Hi, y'all. Just listening tonight. Thank you for being here. Again, Robert McEwen, here with the support, awaiting aliens. It's time once again. Indeed, it is. Tim F. with the constant hail. Hail to you, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. Gabriel, good evening from Panama. Hey, what's up, Panama? Welcome. So happy to have you here. Andrew Hillier, evening, folks. Evening to you, sir. And then we've got Muskoka J. Hey, Muskoka, right back at you. Gary Voorhees in the house. Becoming a regular viewer. I appreciate the love, my man. I'm always happy to see you in the chat. Margie, the wandering hypnotist. Oh, yeah, I got a hypnotist in the crowd. Hello. Welcome. She says, hey, y'all. Joseph, Lou, Hello from Dallas. Keep up the great work. Oh, man, thank you so much. I've never been to Dallas. I've been dying to go. Something about Texas seems to be calling me. I don't know. I got to get out there. Jane's out there. I would like to go visit with her. Don D with a, what is that? Cheers? Is there 2 beers there? I don't know. My eyesight's going, but appreciate the love. Pete Gorisa. Hey, y'all. Shout out from the ATL. Hey, thank you. All the way from Atlanta. I'm assuming that's Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for being here. Hello. Good to be here. Thanks. Thank you, Gabriel. Awaiting aliens, more dolphins. Unfortunately, the dolphin empire is not here, but thank you for being here. Kane 972. Hello, Wookie. Are you talking to me? I do a pretty mean Chewbacca impersonation. That's all you're gonna get. Let's see who else is in the chat, you guys. Space Cowboy, what's up? Howdy from the UK, man. So happy you're here. It's pretty late over there, so double thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. I don't know what time it is in Panama, but I have a feeling it's probably pretty late there too. I always get messed up with the time zones in South America. I feel like they feel like they would be the same, but they're totally not. But anyway, what am I talking about? Gus Baja. You guys are out of material or what? No, we're never out of material. You kidding me? Never. We'll never be out of material. There's always going to be something to talk about. As a matter of fact, we got some kind of cool stuff that happened today. We'll get into in a second after I say hello to everybody. But I am by myself, so, it's a much more chill atmosphere, a little more relaxed. I'm going back to the hoodie for these last 2 weeks, just really sort of easing into these shows. So I appreciate you guys being here. Jacob Freeze, what's up? What's up? Back to you. Matrix 2004. Hello, Luis and UCR crew. Hello, my good man. Alien Boca Face. Yo, Luis, what's good? Not a mucho. What's good with you, brother? Jacob Carlson. Hi there. Big fan of yours. Been here since February. Thank you so much. Love you guys. We love you right back. Nobody. Go UCR. Go you. Fair Flung. Wow, I have that Heineck shirt. We have good taste. Indeed, we do. If you guys want to get this Heineck sweater, go check out Ryan Sprague's Somewhere in the Skies merch store. It's amazing. I'm telling you, I love this sweater. It's so damn comfortable. Awaiting aliens. Laughing. I'm assuming you guys are laughing at my Chewbacca characterization. Visiones. Just found your channel and it's a gem. Great content. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being one of the new subscribers that found this show. Truly appreciate it. I'm so happy to find an audience. It's so cool that you guys are here every day with us. Gabriel 707 in Panama right now. Okay, that's not too late. I can't stay long. Obviously, it's super late for you. But thank you for being here. Let's see here. Robert McEwen, 7 p.m. in Panama. Thank you. Muskaka, it's old school Lou. It is old school Lou. Today is Tuesday. Now I become deaf. I thought Luis was wearing bunny ears. Nope. No bunny ears here. Today's Tuesday. Do you know what that means? What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Aaron Desario? What does that mean? Hola? Oh, Danny? I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, all right. Well, hello to all of you guys. Jonathan Milgie, thank you so much for being here. Alien Boca Face, always a pleasure. All right, you guys. Well, let's get into a little bit of what happened today, shall we? It's been a cool, interesting day. Gadi Schwartz is back. He's back. He's reporting on the UAP phenomenon for the mainstream media. He seems to be the go-to guy when it comes to morning shows, when it comes to I feel like I see most of Gadi Schwartz's work at like Good Morning America. This morning he was on CBS, I believe, in New York, local affiliate for New York. So yeah, we're gonna get into it right now because it was pretty cool. Let me go ahead and pull up this video. Let's see here. Lower the music here for you guys. There we go. All right, let's bring up this video. We'll talk about it as soon as it's done playing, and I want to get your guys' opinion on it. Let's see. It's I believe this is CBS Today, the Today Show. Look at this, Carson Daly. Carson, man, this guy's career has been just so. I don't want to call it weird, but it's been a long career. The guy has he's always doing something. I mean, I remember Carson Daly on Total Request Live. Some of you may have never heard of that. Wow. I was just thinking today, I graduated in 1999 from high school. It's 2001 or 2021. The kids have been born the year I graduated high school. Some of them probably are on their way out of college. It's just a wild thought. Wild thought. Anyway, let's see what happens here with on the Today Show. Let's check it out.
This out there. Well, at least it could be.
So it seems that way because we're now learning about a brand new government office that's going to be dedicated solely to investigating UFOs.
NBC's Gadi Schwartz is our resident UFO correspondent. He joins us now with a closer look. What's the word, Gadi?
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, this might sound outlandish, but buried in the more than 1,000-page Defense Authorization Act, there's this call for a new government program dedicated to investigating UFOs, and their scope is pretty wild. We're talking everything from a rapid response to sightings to investigating cases where people say they were injured after encounters. Sound familiar?
If the X-Files were real life, this would be the part where Mulder and Scully get some new offices and a whole lot more funding.
Well, it can't be aircraft. Aircraft can't maneuver like that.
What else could they be?
I don't know. Lasers, maybe.
Now, sci-fi is becoming reality.
Lasers.
With the formation of a permanent government office tasked with investigating unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UFOs.
If there's a reported incident, now there's a requirement for us to react to that information and go and collect that information.
It's all part of a bipartisan-backed amendment buried in the National Defense Authorization Act, spearheaded by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
I really see this as trying to know what is knowable and not having a head in the sand perspective on this. These are serious issues of national security and technology that we should know about.
The effort calls on a rapid response to new UAP cases, sharing information with other countries, briefing Congress on whether these might be foreign adversaries or something else, and even promising to look into cases where service members say they might have suffered health effects after encountering unknown phenomenon. In the past, those kind of reports were late-night fodder parodied by Hollywood or Saturday Night Live.
I was wrapped in like a robe made out of warm, glowing energy.
Yeah, like a blanket made out of pure love.
But today, even the highest levels of academia seem to be taking UFOs much more seriously. One Stanford researcher looking at the brain scans of some service members who say they've encountered UFOs. Meanwhile, at Harvard, the focus is on the skies. Astrophysics professor Avi Loeb co-founding the Galileo project to invest in high-tech telescopes, infrared cameras, and specialized AI software, hoping to collect scientific data on the kinds of mysterious objects that have been spotted by fighter pilots who say they seem to break the laws of physics.
The answer to this question will have huge implications for the future of humanity. It will affect our aspirations for space, and it basically affects each and every aspect of human life here on Earth.
That's right. The big questions there being asked by Harvard as well as one researcher over at Stanford. Guys, back to you.
All right, Gadi, thank you.
I'm intrigued too.
It's intriguing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every time you hear
music, though.
Yes, someone from the military talking about what they see in the brain scans. I mean, that's big. That's heavy.
I just want to know what the Space Force is up to. I thought the Space Force was.
They should hire Keith Morrison, whatever they're up to. 'Cause when I hear that music, I expect to hear his voice.
If you sleep with
All right, so that was it, you guys. I know what you're gonna say. Fuck, goddamn X-Files music. If they do it one more time, I'm gonna lose my shit. I understand. I get it. I also was thinking about that this morning. Every time I see one of these things, I'm always afraid, okay, are they gonna pull out the X-Files music? Is this gonna be a joke? And I tell you, it definitely, I feel like it always, with that music, it always seems to start off on the wrong foot. But I've gotten to the point now where, look, we can't control it. Producers are going to be clever, and they're going to put this music almost every time when they talk about stuff like this. I know it's frustrating for you guys. It's frustrating for me as well. But at the same time, if, you know, I did like how at the end of it, they talked about the the physiological effects on U.S. service members, and one of the correspondents there took that very seriously. Like that was a sticking point for her. So I was impressed that that's what she came away with. Senator Gillibrand tweeted this interview out this morning. It's happening. This is the first time that the mainstream media is kind of reporting on what just happened within Congress and the Senate and the NDAA. And the thing that I really thought was cool was at the beginning of this, Gadi said that they're going to have a much bigger budget. Still haven't put a number on it yet, but I'm assuming again that, I mean, after talking to Jazz, after talking to Alec, after having some conversations with guys who really know the political process of this, it seems like it could be in the $1 billion range. Don't be shocked if this office gets somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 billion for the first funding, for the first couple of years of funding. I think it's the X-Files music eventually is going to go away. But at the same time, for the normal person who really doesn't know a lot about this, the X-Files music might set them at ease a little bit, you know, and then follow up that with some serious information. I know it sucks. What are you going to do? I mean, it's just these clever producers who think they're like, oh, I know what to do. Cue up the X-Files music. This is going to be great. Nobody's ever done this. I'm sure like every producer that has ever done a piece or edited a piece or produced a piece, a live show like this, every time a story comes across their desk, the first thing they're going to think of is X-Files music because it had such a huge impact on the American culture as it is. The zeitgeist as a whole. I mean, X-Files is popular all around the world. It's a really well-known show that primarily dealt with stuff like this, and it's also, in this case, I feel like it's an acceptable segue because we are essentially getting an X-Files office. We are getting an office that has a rapid response team to coordinate and go to events when they happen. We have people looking at physiological effects when this office is going to be created. There's a lot of things that sort of run parallel with the X-Files, but this is real life now with a real budget. So don't get frustrated at this. I have a feeling by the time June rolls around, but especially by the time October rolls around, I don't think we're going to be getting as many giggles and laughs because it's going to be a lot more serious, especially once a budget is established. Like for you to just kind of giggle and laugh and sort of throw this away is going to be a lot harder to do when it's $1 billion budget. And once these correspondents, like the four of them, one guy was like, well, what about the Space Force? He had no clue. Space Force has nothing to do with this, at least not yet. But the Space Force has to coordinate and report to this office once this office is established. So those are the things that people are going to start learning here within the next 2 to 3 months, especially once this NDAA gets signed. But want to say hello to Chris Lito. What's up, brother? All the way in Spain, my surf brother. What's going on, dude? He's up late. Happy holidays to you and your family as well, man. I appreciate you being here. Aaron Fro, thank you for being here as well. But I'm curious, what do you guys say? I know some of you are just going to hate this. Let's see here. I was 9 in 1999. I'm old, man. I'm getting so old. I'm 41 and I feel it every morning. Nobody graduated in 99 too. That's awesome. Let's see here. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Geez, that flippin' X-Files music is really not original. I know that, you know that, but that producer who produced that segment doesn't know that. I promise you he doesn't know. He thought he was being really clever and having, oh, this will be great. This will be great. People love this. The X-Files music, at least we didn't get like a stupid, like cheesy CGI UFO graphic. And I'm wondering, if Gadi Schwartz, I know he heard it this morning from probably people on UFO Twitter, the music. And I'm curious if, I doubt it, but I'm wondering if he had any knowledge. I doubt he had any knowledge that they were going to play that music before his spot. I mean, they usually don't run things like that by the reporters. It's like, oh, you've got a UFO story? Cool. We got you in at 8:45. You'll be there at 8:45 to 9 o'clock, and that's your segment. And Gadi's just like, cool, just tell me where to be. They'll tell him where to be as far as a remote location to report on it. And that's it. He's got no control over the music. It would be, I wonder if Gadi can make requests before he does a segment, because that music does undermine the seriousness of what's being talked about. In a way, it does undermine it. So I'm wondering how he feels about it, if he's sort of tired of that comparison. I mean, actually, now that I'm thinking of it, he probably did know about it, because I think for Gadi, the best way to explain to people what this new office is X-Files. It's the real life X-Files. So don't be shocked if that sort of gets used here in the next few months. Don't get upset. Don't get frustrated. I know it's lame. I know it undermines it, but this might be a good way to keep people comfortable with the idea that the Senate and the Congress just wrote laws and passed, or once the president signs it, will have passed laws that have created a permanent UFO UAP office. And pieces like that are going to start happening a lot more to get people caught up to what's happening. So we got to take it in stride. There's nothing we could do. It's out of our control. You know, to get upset about it is just like, it's just a waste of your energy. So I wouldn't get, God damn it, the freaking X-Files. Now I've become death with a hilarious comment. And I know how you guys are feeling on this for sure. It is annoying. Let's see here. Somebody said something about the SNL skit. They also showed an old SNL skit. SNL is just so terrible these days. And this is coming from someone who for a long time really wanted to be on SNL. Gillibrand Amendment, Gary Nolan's work in Galileo Project, all covered in a short segment. Pretty impressive. I agree 100% with method of error here. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the fact that they even squeezed in Gary Nolan's work and a Harvard professor, so they're bringing the bona fides. They're telling people, hey, pay attention to this because Stanford's paying attention to it and part of Harvard is paying attention to it. So, you know, those are things that we got to consider, things that we, you know, I think you're absolutely nailed the nail on the head right here with this comment. I mean, we just got a ton of information to a really big audience about this new office, and I think people are gonna respond. They're gonna get curious. They're gonna find shows like this. They're gonna find shows like that UFO podcast, and all of the other great podcasts that are out there for more information, because that's just not enough. I think some people are gonna watch that and go, "Oh, I need to know more about that." And then hopefully find our show where we break it down and we talk about it pretty much every day. Media discussions of UAP are the equivalent of AOL to the internet. That's fair. Let's see here. What else are you guys saying? Agreeing with the method. I'm assuming the method. Love X-Files, love SNL, but the association is sensationalistic. I agree, but it's sensational news. It's very sensational news. You know, if this turns out to being true, it's probably the most sensational news to ever be printed or talked about. Like somebody might be knocking at my door, but oh well. All right, this is gonna shake some grannies. Maybe it might shake some grannies. Let's see here. What else are you guys saying? It's always made a joke out of. I don't know. You know, it didn't seem like especially one of the four correspondents didn't seem like she was concerned that, you know, that U.S. Military troops are having adverse effects and that it's been studied and people are looking at it. Like I think that kind of hit. I think that woke her up a little bit, you know, so we have to give these folks a chance to get caught up to what's happening. And maybe then they'll take it a little more seriously. But I think once the law gets passed, once the president signs it, then I think the giggle factor is going to slowly start going away. And I think it's it's just gonna be a good thing, but we just got to be patient. We got to chill out. We can't. I would recommend, don't get too angry. I have a feeling none of the mainstream coverage that we're going to get on this in the next 6 to 8 months or 6 to 10 months is going to be information that we already know. People who watch this channel, people who are in the know, who've been paying attention to this, there's not going to be anything said that's new for us. I think the new information is going to come when the budget is determined, where the office is going to be. And once that report comes out in October 31st, the public report for everyone to take a look at and sort of and decipher and see how everybody responds. I think once that report comes out, I think the X-Files music starts to go away, because then it becomes a serious conversation. An incredibly serious conversation. All right, so we're going to be starting. Okay, so today, we got a $10 donation here from or euro here. Let me see. Hold on, where'd it go? Sorry, hold on a second, Chris. I'm trying to find your comment here, my man. The comments are moving so fast. Here we go. Hey, Luis, thanks for all the shows. What do you think about what do you think the black triangles are? Ooh, I mean, it's pure speculation. I obviously don't know. But if I had to take a guess, I think the triangles wouldn't shock me if those are military craft, for the most part, 99.9% of them. Yeah, I mean, there's David Marler. We're going to talk to David Marler in January, who has written books on this topic of the triangles, the black triangles. I've heard, and I'm sure you guys have too, that the triangles are U.S. tech that's been reverse engineered from alien recovered tech, and that they're like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. They're not that great. They don't perform as good as the actual UAP that are controlled by whoever's controlling them, and that they're sort of like a bastardized version of what real UAP are. But even a bastardized version of that technology is still incredible. And I've heard that the triangles are controlled by humans, and the other stuff is not. So I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if it's, I mean, I've seen diagrams and patents for stealth balloons. We've heard of these balloons in the right slipstream, if they're high enough, can travel up to Mach 2, if I'm not mistaken. A balloon going Mach 2. It sounds crazy, but the technology, from my understanding, exists out there. So, it's a great question. I think we're going to maybe start getting some answers here in the next couple of years about, or at least a better hypothesis of what these triangles could be. I know, I believe his name is Michael Villa, who was on season 2 of Unidentified, was a, I'm trying to remember his title. But I know he spoke like 4 different languages. He's an incredibly intelligent person, and he was skylarking on a battleship in the Gulf during the Gulf War. So this battleship that he was on was one of the most secured airspaces on the planet at the time. And he said one of these triangles came from the back of the ship all the way to the front and just hovered and flew right over it. And then when he went down to CIC, nobody was talking about it. It's like they didn't even pick it up on the radar. So, what would a U.S. military technology be doing flying that close to a U.S. naval warship? If it's top secret tech, I don't think they would make a bold move like that. Michael Villa, go watch that episode. I believe it's episode 5 or 6 of season 2. I think he's my favorite witness out of both seasons. It's an incredible story, and his bona fides, I think, is what impressed me the most. So, I don't know. In short, I don't know. But it's fun to think about, and I appreciate the question, Chris, truly. Artisan Tony in the house. What's up, brother? Happy to see you here. Let's see here. What other things we got in the chat? All right, let me move on. All right, let's move on. We've got today, I wanted to, our number 9 best moment of the last year that cracked the top 10 here. And I think a lot of people forgot about this. During the Big Phone Home 2, we had Lue Elizondo on an all-ladies panel. And when that panel was over, I was like, holy cow, they were not taking it easy on him. They were not giving him softball questions. It was, I thought, one of the coolest interviews I've seen with Lue Elizondo. It was hosted by our very own Jane Kyle, UFO Jane, who you guys know. We had Jess Rogge on the panel. We had Lynn Wallington from Spaced Out Radio on the panel. And we had NK Kranda, who's a researcher in Texas as well. And this was a very, very, very good interview. And I think it's one that a lot of people just missed. It's at the 5 hour and 10 minute mark of the Big Phone Home. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to watch it right now. It's about an hour and 10, 15 minutes long. Once we come back, we'll close out the show. I'll be interacting with you guys. If I disappear for a couple of minutes, it's because my girlfriend's come home and I got to go park her car because she's still walking with a cane. So if you see a commercial and it plays, I apologize. It's because I'm not sitting at the computer physically. But I'll try my best here. I'm running solo. So any help from you guys as far as patience is concerned is much appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into this interview because I thought this was really cool. And yeah, this was right. This was the Robert Salas moment was very memorable. And I think we might squeeze that into the top 10. I'm still determining whether or not we're going to squeeze that into the top 10 because it was a really cool interview. And that happened day 3 of the Phone Home. So we had Lue Elizondo for 2 days for an hour and I think 2 hours for the second interview. So it was a really, really cool moments. He was very gracious with his time. And here's another thing, you guys, that I was thinking about today. It kind of struck me because Gadi Schwartz was talking about getting or trying to get Elon Musk to reach out to Avi Loeb at the Galileo project. And if that connection doesn't work, or maybe he doesn't see it or he doesn't get it, I'm thinking one of the initiatives, if not maybe a main initiative for the next Big Phone Home, will be to get the attention of Elon Musk to see if he will fund the Galileo project with the full $100 million that they need. I think if thousands of us got together on the same day and bothered Elon Musk for the whole day to try and get funding for the Galileo project, who knows? We may get a shot. We might get his attention. He might pay attention to it. $100 million to Elon Musk is like a $50 bill for you and me. It's peanuts in his vast empire. And I think he'd be the perfect person to dump money into this study, into this research, because he could also back it up with instruments and satellites. I mean, there could be a really great sort of coordinating and joining of forces between Galileo and SpaceX. I think it would be a pretty valiant effort. I'd love to talk to Avi about it, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. I have $45 in my account. I feel you. I think I've got 15. I get paid tomorrow, so I'm right there with you, my man. I'm right there with you. He just paid $11 billion in taxes. He sure did. He sure did pay $11 billion in taxes, which is wild. But let's see, Alien Bogaface. I could spot the 100 million. I just need my crypto to really take off. Same here. I've got the Dogecoin, and I'm actually going to start investing into crypto art. I'm going to be looking at that here in the new year and see if that's a way that we can fund the show as well. So that way we can. Ideally, I would love to take away the super chats and the monetization completely and have the show funded either by a sponsor or buy a crypto art or something like that. So that way it's 1,000,000,000% free. I mean, it is 1,000,000,000% free now. There are no paywalls on the show. But yeah, I mean, it would just be cool to just, be able to curse on the show because we're not monetized. So things like that would be neat. But anyway, oh, by the way, NFT reminds me, I tweeted out this morning, Dan Zetterstrom and Lue Elizondo and that UFO podcast with Andy, they've teamed up and they've created an NFT, and they also have a poster and a couple of other prizes that they're putting in a raffle. And also you could get a phone call from Lue Elizondo, and all of the funds go to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So check out Dan Zetterstrom's link, the Signal. You could also look at my Twitter account. I posted it this morning. I'll be posting it every day for the next couple of days because this is the last few days of the raffle. So if you can help, if you could donate to it, please do. It's a really, really great cause, and you might get some crypto art. You might get a phone call from Lue Elizondo. You might get a hand-stitched alien autopsy doll that was made by Jazz Shaw's wife, the George. She's on Twitter as well. And shout out to you, my lady. I hope you're feeling better. I saw you a little active the other day, so that's good news. So go check it out. It's a beautiful, beautiful cause. The Signal. Dan Zetterstrom is one of the most beautiful souls in this community, and he really puts his heart on his sleeve and does everything with the right motivation. So anything that we could do to help him would be great. And I know so Chris Lito is also getting into NFTs as well. I gotta go back and watch your videos on NFTs, man. I've been meaning to watch that. All right, so let's get into this, you guys. Let me go ahead and pull this video up. I've got it all queued up and ready to go. Just got to pop in this share screen here. Let's see here. Big Phone Home, day 1. All right, so here it is, you guys. Enjoy. I'll be here. I'll be in the chat with you guys, and if you want me to stop and talk about a certain point, we could do that as well. But I think I'm going to let it play for the most part. All right, guys, thanks for being here, and enjoy this number 9 on our top 10 of 2021. Yeah, that sounds better. All right, guys. We're going to be helping you behind the scenes here real quick with, making sure everybody's on the right screen and stuff. But before we start this hour, I just had a message from Christina Gomez that she taped specifically for this panel. So let's play that and then we'll get into it.
Hey there, ladies. It's Christina Gomez, and I wish I could be with all of you guys on the panel, but I am currently traveling and far away from home, so I'm not able to make it. However, I am so happy that all of you guys are representing the female UFO community. There are not a lot of us out there, publicly at least, and that needs to change. The beautiful thing about our community and the beautiful thing about everyone that's on this panel right now is that we have YouTube channels, podcasts, we're writing articles, books, and we are pushing out this conversation to everyone, to our friends, our family, our neighbors, and everyone in between. Yes, the females are not really being represented by the UFO community, but with people like you, you're the ones making the difference. So let's never stop having this conversation. Let's keep demanding transparency from Washington. And we should always remember to keep our eyes on the skies.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Christina Gomez. Okay. So while you got me here, would you like to introduce the panel?
Yeah. So we've got, I don't know who's backstage.
Everyone. Go in whichever one. Yeah, everyone's ready to go.
We made it.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, so we could just bring everybody in. We've got Jess Rogge, my good friend. She's a UFO reporter for Fringe FM and the Rogge Report. Then we have Nikita or MK Kranda, my new friend. I just met her. She studies experiencers and works to preserve witness testimony and a whole lot more than that, I can tell you after listening to her presentation this weekend. This last weekend was which is so amazing. And then we've got Lynn Wallington, host of the very popular Spaced Out Radio, and is it Paranormal? So we've got more than UFO perspective here. So that's really awesome. So thanks, Lynn, for being here. And then, of course, we have Lue Elizondo. Oh, you know, Lue.
Yeah, you know Lue.
Former counterintelligence special agent, former director of ATIP, advanced aerospace.
You say that to all the boys. Come on.
Identification threat program. So no big deal.
Look at his cheeks. I've never seen him this red. Is this officially the best panel you've ever been part of? And we haven't even started yet.
I got to tell you, first of all, Louis, thank you for making this happen. I make no bones about it. I think women are the greatest creation of God. I happen to live with a bunch. I have 2 daughters and my wife. And let me just say this real quick. Folks like Alex Dietrich, what you may not know, there's a little rumor going around to show you the value that I think our female colleagues have. And it's a little bit off topic, but Alex Dietrich, there was a rumor going around that had actually more confirmed kills at one point than the entire United States Marine Corps, right? One of my deputies running ATIP was a female. And you're absolutely right. I think we need to have females much more represented, because really behind the shadows, they're doing just as much work as the fellas. And I think it's time we do something like this. It's long overdue for us to begin representing our female colleagues that have been in the trenches all along, but for whatever reason have been remaining silent. So today that changes.
Awesome. Well, hey, listen, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna leave you with the ladies, and good luck. Have fun, and I'll see you ladies in an hour.
Thanks, Luis.
You're welcome. Hold on, where's the button? There.
Thank you guys, everybody, for our ladies. I say, it's funny, I say you guys all the time here in Texas, and I used to get the question, are you from New York? No, everybody's a guy. We're all dudes and ladies here. So this is, welcome to the Lue Elizondo Celebrity Roast.
Oh.
No, just kidding. But I do hope this is a little more of an unconventional panel where we just kind of talk, as a group. And so I've got some questions kind of for everybody. And then I know everybody has questions for you, Lue. And thank you for all the interviews you do. You're one of if not the most accessible government voice. I don't know the right words to put to it, but
it is absolutely my pleasure. It really is. It's an honor and privilege to be here. When I say that, people, will say all the time, well, Lou, you say that a lot. Well, I mean it a lot. I mean, it's a privilege for me. I've spent my life and career living in the shadows, and having a conversation like this, I think is very, very important. And I want to thank you ladies as well for doing this. You are setting a precedence, whether you realize it or not. You're making history. And everyone counts. Everyone is important. Every voice matters, and you are making sure today that those voices are heard. And let's not forget, there's a lot of people around the world that are interested in this topic, and this affects all of us together. It doesn't matter if you're a dude or you're a girl or you're anything in between. The bottom line, this is a topic that affects every single one of us. And so it's truly wonderful to be here and have this collaboration today with you guys.
Thanks. Well, it's hard to follow that.
I know.
But I do have a nice kind of roundtable question, and I'll let you think about this one a little bit, Lou. And we'll start with who I can see, Jess and Kay, and then Lynn and Lou. In 9 years, 2030, you guys think about like how old you're going to be, where you're going to be at. Where do you picture we are? Are we meeting the aliens? And regardless of whether you think in a decade that's going to happen, have you been preparing to meet the aliens just in case? Jess, we'll start with you.
I don't know if we'll actually be there in 10 years. I mean, even me and you have had conversations, and I don't think that we could have imagined that it had moved this far in such a short amount of time. So, to be honest, I'm not ready to meet aliens. I probably would still be scared if one showed up right here at my house. You know what I mean?
Okay, Jess is not ready. Okay, noted. Nikita, how about you?
All of my followers know that I plan to be a swamp witch living under a bridge in 10 years. So good luck finding me. As for aliens, you know, I've just been around the block. I've had a lot of different experiences. I'm not sure if I necessarily have or haven't met one yet. So I'm open to the opportunity. And if they want to come and rattle my doorknob, come on.
Yes, good point. Maybe it's already happened. Lynn?
I kind of agree with Jess. I'm not sure where we will be in 10 years. It all has happened so quickly, but it's all also happened so slowly, if that makes sense. So it's possible that we will maybe meet them in 10 years, but then again, maybe some of us have already met them. So
Speaking of, Lou, are you going to be part of a press conference, you know, sitting next to an alien in 10 years?
I certainly hope not. I hope it's one of you. You know, this is I said before, it's a relay race, and you know, I hope I'm not the one still carrying the baton in 10 years. I hope it's one of you. I hope I'm sitting back in an easy chair watching the news, and all of a sudden you pop up and you know, we're having the conversation. But if I may, let me just digress for just a moment here. I'd like to read to you the actual definition of the word disclosure. It's very short, from the Oxford Dictionary. The action of making new or secret information known. That's it. And if you look at that definition, I think if we look in retrospect, one of you was just saying how far we've come in 3 years. By that bar, by that measure, we're there. There is enough information that has come forth now in front of the world, where if you look at that definition of disclosure, we have it. We're there now. So the question is, where do we go, right? We know where we've been yesterday, and we know where we kind of are today. The big question is, where will we be tomorrow? And if you look at how far we've come in just the last 3 years, it's been this almost exponential increase in government involvement and legislative involvement. Folks like Tim Burchett, this Representative Tim Burchett, this is huge. These are very serious people. These aren't people that are prone to conspiracy theories. These are people that have huge responsibility on their shoulders. And it doesn't matter what political affiliation you are, whether you're liberal or conservative or anything in between. We have people now on all sides having this conversation, whether it's Senator Harry Reid, who's a personal hero of mine, or Senator Marco Rubio, who's also another individual I admire very much, to Representative Tim Burchett. That discussion is occurring, and I don't think we can put the genie back in the bottle. And if this is any type of litmus test for where we're going to be in 10 years, I'm extremely optimistic. Now, to answer your question, do I want to meet an alien? Not to be tongue in cheek, but you know, my whole family being Cuban, we technically we're aliens, right? We just have you know, green cards. It's you know, I think humanity is about always learning something new. It's in our DNA to explore, to wonder, to find answers, and I think it'll be okay. I think that when we finally have that conversation, that mankind is probably not alone in the universe, and we have the empirical data to then provide that to the world. I'm very hopeful. You know, we've already seen that this conversation, unlike when we go back to the whole analogy of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yesterday there were discussions, and there were even think tanks like Rand Corporation who put out these documents saying that if we let the American people know that there are these things called UFOs, there'd be mass chaos. Governments are in jeopardy of collapsing, and religious institutions and organizations. And you know what? None of that happened. Here we are. We're having that conversation. You now have representatives of Congress, both on the Senate and the House side, having this conversation openly. You have presidents being briefed on it. So I didn't mean to digress too much, but where are we going to be in 10 years? I'm very, very hopeful. I think hopefully we can come back and have this conversation, and all of us be really surprised and kind of scratch our head and go, wow, I never would have imagined we'd be here in just 10 years.
Yeah, I have a kiddo, and so I'd like to think, when he's my age, there will be quite an awareness of possible life out there, and it won't seem like such a big deal. So you say you feel optimism for 10 years out. Do you think it will be a little bumpy on the way? And then I also want to, just tell all the ladies, just chime in at any point with like any questions, and interrupt all that. But I am curious, do you think there's going to be a transition period? Should we be a little concerned going into this?
I have the perfect question.
Yeah,
well,
you're next.
Life is bumpy, right? I mean, life by anybody who's lived more than a day will tell you life is bumpy. My youngest daughter almost died on the operating room, along with my wife during childbirth, and it was after only 2.5 months out of the NICU unit I was able to hold my daughter for the first time. Life is bumpy, but it also is very much worth living, and these are exciting times. Had I not have gone through that experience that I did with my daughter, maybe I wouldn't be the father that I am today. Maybe I wouldn't be the human being and the citizen that I am today, right? A little bit more sensitive and caring and understanding and empathetic. So, is that transition going to be bumpy? Sure, because human beings are bumpy. We just are. We all think a little bit differently. We all have different motivations and interests and whatnot. So I think, yeah, but I don't think that's bad. Through that friction of life that we all encounter comes great wonder and beauty. I've said this a few times before. Let me give you a very quick analogy. The famous artist is spent 2 years creating the greatest.
So I just received the Tobacco Captain from Thursday Boots. I really like the construction and the weight of the boot.
Work of art he's ever done. And the day comes where everybody in the town is going to come and see the unveiling of this
commercials. Am I right?
And so they come into this big, beautiful room, and they see this blanket over this piece of art, and the blanket is removed, and all of a sudden you have this beautiful statue. I mean, the proportions are perfect. It's smooth. It's gorgeous, like Statue of David, right? And everybody's awed, and it was, wow, this is incredible. What a work of art. And you look over to the corner, and there is the artist, and he's sobbing, crying uncontrollably in the corner. So one of the art critics goes over and says, this is incredible. This is. Are you crying? These must be tears of joy, because this is the greatest work of art you've ever produced. And the artist looked at the critic and said, no, you're missing the point. That's not the work of art. Let me show you the work of art. And then shows at the bottom of the statue all the chips and the pieces and the dust, blood-soaked dust that went into creating the art, right? And the artist says, that's the artwork. What you see in front of you is just what's left behind. That's the result. But the real art was the sacrifice and the blood and the sweat and the dedication and day in and day out of pounding and beating and whatnot to create this. That's the real work of art. And to very much that, from that perspective, I think all of human beings, we all represent that. We are all a work of art in progress. And life is what we are malleable, and it's life that makes those impacts on us every single day that wind up at the end of our life, resulting in this what we are. So I'm okay with bumps and bruises. I think that's just part of the human condition, and I think we should embrace it. I think we should rejoice in it, and we shouldn't fear it, because at the end of the day, that's what makes us all individuals. That's what makes us a species, a beautiful species, in my opinion.
Yeah, beautiful. NK, what do you have to ask?
Well, first of all, nice to meet you, sir.
The pleasure and honor is mine.
So I work pretty closely with experiencers that deal with a lot of trauma. And one of the things that I encourage them not to do is to see a non-licensed hypnotherapist, because you don't want to open the mental gates of all that trauma and have no aftercare plan and have it completely overwhelm them. So to go off of your talking about what would happen 10 years from now, and, yay, we finally get disclosure. Is this something that's going to happen in stages, or is this going to happen in like a huge info dump? And once that happens, do we have a game plan as professionals, as medical professionals and ufologists to help these people come to terms with, all of that new information, which they've been lied to about for so long?
Yeah, I mean that's certainly that's a great question. Let me give it from the perspective that I'm aware of, is the notion of PTSD, right? A lot of my friends and colleagues have come back with traumatic brain injuries and whatnot, and we provide care. And I agree. You want to go to a licensed individual professional. You don't want to go cheap, if you will, on that type of care. You want somebody who knows what they're doing. My concern is, what about the pilot, for example, he or she that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, reported a UAP incident, and for doing the right thing, they were put into some sort of mental evaluation, right? Psychiatric evaluation. Maybe they lost their security clearance. Maybe they didn't get promoted. Hell, maybe they eventually lost their job and lost their marriage and is now homeless somewhere, right? All for doing the right thing. What about those individuals? What are we going to do? What's the plan of action? What are we going to do when it turns out that maybe company A or company B, a defense company, wound up having access to something and another company didn't, right? So now you have this unfair competitive advantage, and now company A gets a contract and for the next 20 years becomes this multi-billion-dollar corporation, while company B or C, who didn't have that, wound up going bankrupt, and all these people lost their jobs, right? So there's some liability there. We need to have that conversation. I think from a health perspective, I don't think we should consider eating the elephant all in one bite. There's a lot of nuances and facets to this conversation. There's a lot of second and third order consequences. And I think we need to think this out. This is not a topic just about satisfying idle curiosity and and space aliens and stuff like that. This is a much deeper conversation about what it means to be human. This is a conversation about who we are and where we are and why we are. One of the greatest questions we have since crawling out of the cave and looking into the heavens was, are we alone? And we have ancient mythology of Greek gods because we don't like the notion of being alone. It's just the way we are as a species. And when it turns out that we're not, what does that mean to us as a species? I agree with you wholeheartedly that we need to start preparing to ask these questions ahead of time. In the military, we have something called an operational plan, and you always try to come up with what if scenarios. And so you spend a lot of time and a lot of money with a lot of people with rank on their shoulder to try to figure out, okay, if this happens in this scenario, then this is what we're going to do. And if this happens, this is what we're going to do. But as most military people know, your op plan is only good for about the first 10 minutes of a firefight. And then after that, it's out the window. Because
right. My daughter had.
Hey, just wanted to let you know, Matthew Falcone got your donation. This is a replay. We're replaying an interview from the second big phone home, day one. But we appreciate your $5 donation. Do me a favor, if we ever have Lou back on the show, DM me on Twitter and I'll make sure to ask him this question for you. But yeah, this is a replay. Unfortunately, he can't answer this live. But I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you watching. Please check out the rest of the interview because these ladies get pretty tough on them. It's coming. So check it out. It's pretty cool. All right.
Had a book set called Who, What, When, Where, Why, and When, and we called it her op report training.
Right. And of course, when it all goes to pot because Mother Nature has a vote, then you got to kind of recalibrate and reconsider pretty quickly. So, but I guess the bottom line is I wholeheartedly agree with you. We need to start having this conversation.
I agree. Thank you so much for answering that question. And I had one more small follow-up one, is that usually when we have experiencers come to someone like me, it's their last resort. They've done the Googling. They don't have anyone else to talk to. This is really something that they need to get off of their chest. So if those are the people that have already had some kind of experience and they've already had some kind of interaction with whatever phenomena it is, you know, and they're already that close to just giving up, I'm really worried about what we call the normal population and how they're going to take it. I really hope that there is a plan, and if there is a plan, sir, that you're a part of it.
Well, I appreciate that. Let me, if I may, and again, I may have said this before, but let me say it again for anybody who hasn't heard it. We are a very unique species, and since the moment there's been these moments in space-time of our development that were epiphematic, if you will. They were paradigm-changing moments. An example of that is perhaps when we first, an analogy, we crawled out of the cave and we realized, wow, our world is much bigger than the little cave we live in. The next time may have been when mankind first struck two pieces of flint, created a spark, and now has fire, right? That changed our species forever. Another one was when a group of people stood on a sandy beach and looked at the horizon, and one said, you know what, I'm going to sail over that horizon. And of course, the people on the beach said, oh, you don't want to do that because you're going to fall off the edge of the earth. And oh, by the way, there's sea monsters out there and these giant things called kraken, and they're going to destroy your ship. And of course, here we are, many, many years later, realizing that was utter nonsense. And yet, it turns out, you know what, there really are sea monsters. They're just called great white sharks and blue whales and the great squid of the Pacific. And they're not really monsters. They're just part of nature. They're part of our reality. They are part of our paradigm. And so I've often looked at this topic being very much the same way. Maybe we are just standing on yet another sandy beach looking at the horizon, about to go beyond the horizon. And so I think the general public, perhaps one generation, there may be some growing pains. But overall, as a species, I'm not too worried about it. I think we're going to adjust just fine. But you're right. We need to prepare, and we need to start having the conversation now. At least from my perspective.
Thank you, sir. And to quote someone that's in the chat, April Bathory, I just want to thank you, Papa Lou, from the bottom of my heart. You are amazing and so goddamn hardworking, and you've sacrificed so much for us. And I can't agree more.
I really appreciate that. The fact that they call me Papa Lou, I think I might know who that is. That's kind of a familial little nom de guerre that someone calls me sometimes. So thank you very much for that. I sincerely appreciate it.
How about you, Jess? You have any questions?
I do. When you look at the study of UFOs by the government over the years and everything, and a lot of people have asked me and come to me and said, Jess, what's different about now? So I want to ask you, Mr. Elizondo, and it's an honor to speak with you. Thank you very much for your service and everything you've done for the community. But what makes this different? A lot of people are feeling like, oh, it's just a hype up to nothing again. So do you think, just tell me why do you think it's different now?
Well, if we had 3 hours, I could tell you quite a bit of detail. There's a lot happening right now behind the scenes. I've often likened this conversation that we're having to that of a stealthy submarine or dark matter. Most of the action you don't see until you do. There's a lot happening behind the scenes. Evident of that is you just saw today with Representative Tim Burchett, and there are others. The conversation is happening, and there are things happening within our government and behind the scenes. I can't elaborate on some of those right now because they're nascent. They're starting, and I don't want to jeopardize those efforts. But we are shifting into high gear. Make no mistake about it. There is a tremendous amount of support right now within the intelligence community and the Department of Defense to get some answers. There's some folks out there. If you just get into some of these analytic virtual spaces, and I won't go into again too much detail here, but one of the largest virtual spaces in the U.S. government for analysts happens to be about UFOs. So you have the best and brightest looking at it. That's right. So there is a tremendous appetite and will by people. Also, I'm very encouraged that the new generation of intelligence professionals are not subject to the same bias as my generation was. They don't, the moment you say UFO or UAP, it's nonsense, I don't want to hear about it. They said, okay, well, show me the facts. And you show them the facts. I said, okay, give me more facts and give me more facts. And they were hungry for it. The reason why this isn't like this, like before, is because it's not. We are light years, excuse the pun, but we're light years ahead of we've ever been before. People say, oh, well, there's a Project Blue Book. Yeah, Project Blue Book said there was nothing to see here. We actually have a task force that says, yeah, there's something to see here. And by the way, out of 144 incidents, we only figured out one. That's less than 1%. And oh, by the way, of those 144 incidents, they all occurred in the last year and a half and all involved the Navy. Wait a minute. And oh, by the way, when you read the report that went to Congress, it says that most of the reporting hasn't been reported. So if you look at just the numbers, just the math, and say, okay, let's assume that 10% of the incidents were reported. That means that in the last year and a half alone, involving just one of the services, the Navy, not the Army, the Air Force, or anybody else, just the Navy, there was over 1,400 incidents, and we've solved one. So, and so this is not like a conversation like before. And now, by the way, we no longer have a 180-day report due to Congress. We have a 90-day report due to Congress. Oh, by the way, every 90 days. And if there are any incidents that haven't gone reported that occurred before, that's due to Congress too. And that's because of the hard work of folks like Representative Tim Burchett. I mean, they are demanding answers. They are doing what they're supposed to do as elected officials. Like it or not, we can all make fun of politicians. But the one thing most people know is that politicians typically tend to be risk averse. Well, guess what? Not these. And if they're willing to be bullish on a topic like this and risk their political careers for it, that's a pretty good gauge that they're probably willing to talk to the American people about other topics that may not necessarily be politically appetizing, but need to happen. So I'm very encouraged. I think we are. I think we are closer to our destination than we are to the home port that we left.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a great answer. Thank you, Lou. Can I ask you what the significance of the 13 on your hat is?
Yeah, so I belong to some military units where 13 was the number of the unit. And it was a pretty special unit to me. I know people think it's bad luck. No, 13, but in the military we have kind of a weird sense of humor sometimes, and so it's the same thing that's it's on my arm here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's there we go, 13.
Oh, cool.
There we go. Yeah, it's that's all. There's no special meaning, no, I'm not endorsing any type of, weird cult or anything like that. It's just the number of a military organization I belong to.
UFO Jane, can I ask a question from the audience?
Yeah, sure. Is it the NMUAP $50 super chat?
No, but we'll get there.
Yeah, let's prioritize that one, NK, because we've got a $50 super chat from NMUAP. So thank you very much. Mr. E has said, so I think that's you, Lou. He believes we may have ET material. I've heard you say that before. So does that mean that there's some rogue party or government in action? I kind of have so that you've stated you're only going to be briefed on so many things. Do you ever wonder if you're being tricked, if you're being fooled, if there's other, can you answer that loaded question there?
Sure, there's two questions. First of all, I'm always asking myself, am I being tricked? Am I being deceived? That's just the former intelligence officer in me. Making sure that the data that I have isn't corrupted, right? And it isn't being manipulated by someone. The question here is, if he has a SAP manager and Mellon as a SAPOC didn't see a UAP program, does that mean we have a rogue party government in action? That is a very good question, because that's a question we are trying to answer. It's problematic. It's problematic for many reasons. It's problematic from a legal and oversight perspective. There are under only certain circumstances where the government is allowed to outwardly lie about something. And there's reasons for that, usually because you're trying to protect a type of mission or operation. And for example, we'll say, well, this is covert action. Well, not really. You can look up on Google and look up at the definition of what covert action is. There's very specific guidelines, and there's still people in the government that are responsible for being briefed into these operations, as secret as they may be. There is no such thing as a secret, so secret that the president doesn't know. That's not the way our government works. And if there is, then we've got a bigger issue on our hands. We have a constitutional issue. We've got a problem with people in the government assuming more authority than they actually have. And at that point, then we've got to figure out, okay, who are they and why are they doing this? And what are we going to do to fix this? Because there are oversight committees specifically designed, like in the Department of Defense. You have a SAPCO, Special Access Programs, office that's responsible for coordinating all these. You have oversight committees in Congress that this information must be reported to. Period. Full stop. You're not allowed to bypass those channels. And there's other legal oversight requirements as well, and that involve what we call intelligence oversight, and Procedure 15, which are questionable intelligence activities. All that comes into play. There was a time where the U.S. government really did run rogue, and there were operations occurring that were not in the best interest of the American people. So Congress got wise to that, and they said, no mas, we're not going to allow that to happen anymore. And so they put these rules and laws in place to prevent that. If there is still some sort of rogue activity going on, then that's problematic. And I think this is one of the questions that, and I'm certainly not going to speak for the Department of Defense Inspector General's office, but if I was a betting man, that's one of the questions they're going to try to ask and try to answer. Is there a rogue element out there that's operating under the radar, completely autonomous? And if so, and they're spending taxpayer money on it, there's going to be a lot of questions to answer for sure. And I don't think Congress is going to be happy with those answers either. And they're going to demand some changes themselves.
Thanks, Lou. And I know, and if we can get to that question in a second, Lynn, though, I want to give you a chance to ask Lou.
Questions you have? Sure. Well, I was just listening to what you were saying, Lou, and one of the things that popped into my mind was actually several things. But so all of those rules and provisions and regulations have all been in place for quite some time now. So why now is this any different? How do we know that it's different? And also, if there is a rogue operation in place and they are spending taxpayer money, somebody must know about it. So how are they getting a hold of that money? Who are these people? How would we even go about finding out who these people are and what it is that they're doing?
That's the $1 million question. How have they been able to operate for so long without any type of government oversight? That's problematic, because that means they're spending money on things and when they should be spending on something else. They've been given money by Congress to spend it on Project X, and instead they've been spending it on Project Y. Therein lies the rub. You asked the question, why now? Well, my response would be, well, why not now? Now is as good a time as any to have this conversation and try to figure this out. I've said before over and over again that I don't think this is a conversation like perhaps fine wine that you have in the cellar, and that the longer you keep a cork on it, the better it gets and the better it tastes. I think this is a conversation like rotten vegetables in the refrigerator, and the sooner you clean it out, the better, because it's just going to smell more and more.
No, I completely agree. So when I said why now, I also mean, why didn't this happen before? What is it about now why is it occurring now?
Well, Lynn, I'd say look in the mirror. It's happening now because people are demanding answers. Unlike before this topic was relegated to fringe. People think of tinfoil hats and proverbial Elvis on the mothership, and we now realize that some of the most sophisticated combat weapon systems and sensors are picking these things up. And we can continue to keep our head buried in the sand, but it doesn't really care. It's doing what it does, and it's flying unimpeded over controlled U.S. airspace, and frankly, it's not a U.S. phenomenon; it's a global phenomenon. So I think we've reached a critical mass where people are saying, you know what, this isn't about grandma seeing some lights in the backyard. These are our highly trained observers, Top Gun graduates that are trained to recognize an F-16 or an F-22 or a MiG-25 and make a split decision to is this friend or foe? Do I shoot it or do I protect it? And they're telling you that what they are seeing is nothing at all like anything we have. It doesn't have wings. It doesn't have any obvious signs of propulsion. It doesn't have any rivets in the skin. It doesn't even have a cockpit, and yet it's able to outperform anything we have. And then, furthermore, what they are reporting is further being substantiated by electro-optical data like pod and FLIR footage, and then of course being backed up by radar footage. And so as an investigator, former investigator, it's not just eyewitness testimony. You now have 3 distinct sources of information, all corroborating the same event at the same time, at the same location, under the same circumstances. That's very compelling. That's an entirely different story than, again, grandma seeing some lights in the backyard. If this was a jury, I don't think the jury would have any choice but to convict. We are certainly well beyond reasonable doubt at this point, at least from any, I think, rational perspective. Anybody, would look at this objectively and say, yeah, Houston, we got a problem here.
I agree, but I also think it'll be great when grandma seeing lights in the back sky is taken just as seriously.
Oh, absolutely. No, I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying it shouldn't be taken seriously. The problem is that you don't, being able to national security apparatus is very funny, and it's very nuanced. There are certain things that the Department of Defense can do and certain things it can't do. Collection and retention of and dissemination of U.S. persons information, and I won't bore you with the details, but that's a no-no. Meaning, I can't just go to MUFON, for example, and collect a bunch of information on eyewitness testimony from Jane Smith and Paul Jones, because that information gets put into an intelligence database, and there's laws against that. Can't do it. It's U.S. persons information. They're protected from that, and so that's why grandma's information isn't as helpful as necessarily a pilot of an F-18 Super Hornet, because you can use that information. Information collected from a military person is a completely different story. There's and by the way, grandma is important, but she may not necessarily be a trained observer. Now, sometimes grandma is. I'll give you a case in point. When we went to Mexico,
I'm gonna have to cut in and disagree with you here, sir, before you go any further.
Well, I was going to support that. I was going to actually support that position of trained observer. I was with a colleague of mine, Sean Cahill, and we were in Mexico, and we were talking to fishermen. And people said, well, you might want to talk to the fishermen because they see a lot of weird things in the water. And you know what? They are trained observers. In fact, they spent generations on the sea and on the oceans. In fact, those fishermen with a modest salary know more about the ocean than our most trained Navy personnel. And they know when the tides come in, they know when the tides come out, they know what bioluminescence is. They know more about the ocean than just about anybody else off the island of Guadalupe, which is where we were. And it was amazing to hear that eyewitness testimony because it was just as accurate, and in some cases even had more fidelity than we were getting from the most trained military personnel. So, I don't, please understand, Nikita, I don't disagree with you. I'm giving you first the perspective from the government side and then my perspective. I disagree with that notion. I don't think that grandma's any less able to provide information. But I was asked the question, why, from a governmental perspective, is that taken more seriously? Well, the government is very insulated, and it tends to look at things a little bit differently. I don't necessarily agree with that. But those are the two perspectives. You have the government perspective, and then you have Luis Elizondo's perspective, and they're not necessarily the same.
Okay. Well, you just said a little while ago that we were looking at this all from a human perspective because we are human. And, everybody loves to talk about military fighter pilots and everything, but I want to know how you see the role of just regular day-to-day experiencers in this initiative of disclosure of, why they're so central and so important, because we don't have a report. We don't have a sighting or anything else until someone comes forward and says, hey, I saw something. It was crazy. Will you please listen to me?
Yeah, that's critically important. The problem is eyewitness testimony is some of the hardest to quantify and qualify from a scientific perspective because it tends to be subjective. We're dealing with the human psyche. I can go to a traffic accident and I can get 10 eyewitnesses to describe the accident, but their stories will all be a little bit different. And the reason is because we're human beings and we process data differently, we synthesize data differently, we remember data differently. Even the human memory works a little bit in interesting ways. And so it is very important. And eyewitness testimony has been helpful even in, prosecuting the war on terror. But it's not the only thing. And I do think that when we talk about experiencers, we first need to define what is an experiencer, and with that data, can it be quantified and qualified? It doesn't mean it's irrelevant. So don't confuse the two. I think it's very relevant. The problem is we don't have a scientific way yet to really quantify and qualify, because we're talking about a subject matter that deals with human psychology, human theology, and philosophy, and human sociology, which is very complex. And I think it is, again, to restate my position, I think it is absolutely relevant. We haven't figured out a way yet, though, to how do we scientifically quantify and qualify human observations, objective experiences. We can go to a concert, you and I, a rock concert, and come out completely different. You can come out saying, that was the best concert I've ever been to. And I can come out and say, that was lousy. So it's very subjective. And people who report this, I by no means am I not validating their experiences, because I think many of their experiences are absolutely true. The problem is we haven't figured out a way to really synthesize that data into something that allows us to predict certain behaviors and patterns. So there is the frustration with it. I think it's extremely valuable. We just don't know how to really use it yet. And that's really nobody's fault. We need to, we need help. And this is why I think psychologists are so important in this endeavor, because they can help, if you will, untangle some of the experiences and the way that people process those experiences, if that makes sense.
It does, but to try and classify a phenomenon that's not of our world and not of our science, how do we apply science to something that we see inside of a human box?
Great question. You can't.
You can't. That's
can't.
why I like to run with the experiencers.
On that note, I'm going to interrupt because we have a special guest that can only be here for like 30 seconds. Come here. So Glurp the alien. So I know that he has a special question, and he wanted to ask a question, but all of them had to do with boobs and farts and things like that. So there was one question that I was able to approve. Okay, so considering the recent disclosures about the UFO and UAP phenomenon to come out of the government of late, and the likelihood that there will be much more to come, I think it's very important that the human being, Glurp the alien, I think it's very important that the human beings of Earth specifically deserve to know the truth about the following. Do you like mustard on your sandwiches?
That is a resounding yes, I do.
Okay, yes. Yes. Okay, thank you guys. Had that, we had to know that. And just shout out
I'm also
to
a Gemini. I like long
mustard.
walks on the beach, pina coladas.
That's the stuff we really want to know, right? I do want to circle back a little bit, just because, wow, this is like, guys, we're 45 minutes into this. There's some amazing questions in the chat. This has just flown by. I do want to make sure, Jess and Lynn, if you had, were there other questions, Jess, that you didn't get a chance to ask, so that you get a chance to ask?
I know. I'm like, dude. Well, Lou, what continues to drive you to do this? I know it's like a long haul type of job, like thing. This isn't like going to be months worth. This is like years. Like, what drives you to keep going on this mission?
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt, but Jazz Shaw, also shout out in the chat, had a similar question. Jazz, just when is your job going to be over? I think is, you've done enough. When will you feel satisfied? So shout out to Jazz as well.
So then two questions. Why do I do this? Simply put, I do it because of you. I do it because you have asked questions and people haven't been forthcoming and haven't provided the answers that you deserve. You provided my organization $22 million of your taxpayer money, hard-earned money, to find answers, I believe you deserve those answers. First and foremost, I took an oath a long time ago to defend this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And one of those enemies is ignorance, and I'm committed to that. I've never been relieved of that responsibility, and I take it very seriously. I went to war for that responsibility. I think it's a sacred oath, and I think the American public deserves to know the truth. As long as I don't violate my security oath, which so far I haven't, I don't see why we can't have this conversation. We trust the American people to know that there's countries out there that have nuclear weapons pointed at our cities, and we trust the American people to know that there's this pandemic called COVID, and we trust American people to know that our climate is changing. We trust American people to know that terrorism is all over the place, and there's people that don't like us very much, and yet we don't trust the American people to know that there's something in our skies that we don't know what it is. I don't get it. The next question you asked me is, when will I be able to put my boots up? God, I hope soon. This is a conversation that really needs someone more qualified than me to carry the baton. I think I was helpful, in certain stages, but I'm not the guy to win the relay race. I'm not. There are people out there that have far more skills than I have, far more experience and scientific expertise. And those conversations need to happen. They need to step outside of the shadows, because I know my limitations, and I'm okay with it. I never intended to be the one to come out, and in fact, I didn't think it'd ever be like this. I've spent my life in the shadows. I don't like the spotlight. I'm not that guy. There's the old adage: I'd rather be a kingmaker than a king. That's how I feel. I'm a very private person, exceedingly private person. If you ever know me, I live in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, because of my privacy. I hope someone steps up very soon and can take this baton, because again, I think the public will be much better served. There's people out there that are much more qualified than me to continue this conversation.
Well, thank you, Lou. You're very humble. You've done a lot to move the ball forward and keep the conversation going, because I was in this community prior to, the big 2017 release, and I've seen a shift, and I've seen a lot of support, and a lot of people come out and, be comfortable to talk about this now. So I thank you for all your work, and, hopefully you stick around a little longer with us all.
Well, thank you as well, because we wouldn't be here and have this conversation if it wasn't for you ladies and your listeners. This is truly a grassroots movement. We are only here today, not because of any act that I took, but because of you. It's a collective. This is something we've all embraced, and we're all working together. I stand shoulder to shoulder with millions of people that want to have answers. No one is in front than anybody else. We are all together in this, and I think there's a lot of power and beauty in that. I think we are all walks of life. It doesn't matter from what social strata you're from, or economic, or religious, or cultural, or racial. We're all in this together. We all want the same thing, and you now have elected officials that have jumped on board with us, right, on this motley crew, this pirate ship that we call disclosure. I think you are all part of making a difference. Everyone, whether you're an experiencer or you're not experienced, or you're military or you're civilian, it doesn't matter. We're all finding these answers together, and we're all demanding that the truth and transparency be known, and forcing our government to do what it's supposed to do. Lest we forget that our government is there to serve the interests of the people, not the other way around. We don't serve the government serves us. Let's not forget that, and let's not be lazy and allow the government to dictate what we should and should not know. We're not children. We're adults, and we put these people in office to represent our interests.
So, sir, I just wanted to say thank you for your service and thank you for your support. I noticed that you have the flag in the background, and I know especially what that means. So, thank you so much for everything that you have done. I know that none of us are all going to see eye to eye or agree all the time, but I do appreciate your contributions to this field, and thank you for talking to me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And look, I think that's another good thing to agree to disagree. I don't think this is why I don't offer my opinion, because at the end of the day, my opinion doesn't matter. What matters is what the facts suggest. And I would never want to impose my own personal perspective onto a conversation. I think healthy disagreement, frankly, is a good thing. I think it drives conversation. It forces people to reconsider and reevaluate. I know I'm doing it myself constantly. And especially on a topic like this where we know so little, I get very worried about anybody who says they have the answer, because simply they don't. I don't. And, I love nothing more than to be wrong, because it's an opportunity for me to grow. And when people want to challenge me with their perspective, I welcome it. I think it's good. I think it's healthy. I think new perspective, in the military and intelligence community, we call that alternative analysis. Maybe if we had that alternative analysis or that alternative voice, maybe we would have avoided, wars. There's a couple wars out there that had we had some good alternative analysis, we probably could avoid it. So, that's how I feel.
So let's avoid a war with the aliens.
That's not what I meant, but
Lue Elizondo quote. No, but that is just what the Big Phone Home is about. It's about bringing together different people, whether you're an experiencer or an alien, or a researcher, or you're interested in the nuts and bolts, or maybe Mick West, for all we know, is in the live chat. So remember, go to thebigphonehome.com, fill out the petition, email, call, tweet your representatives, ask them to pay attention to this issue. Don't have to have a specific theory to agree on about who or what they are or where they're from, but we can move forward with that. Do you want to take us out, Len, with any questions? Do you have any burning questions you didn't get to? Otherwise, I'm happy to. But
well, I know we only
you were on fire earlier. You were on fire earlier. So.
Well, I will be happy to respectfully disagree with Lou and many other opportunities.
Okay. That's what it's about.
I know there are a lot of questions in the chat too. So if there are any burning questions that you want to address, I'm happy to let you do so.
Yeah, there's so much.
Can I
will.
something?
Yeah, go for it, Lou. Yeah.
I do think it's important to note that sometimes the minority perspective is a correct perspective. And we must always remain open to the fact that just when we think we have all the answers, we don't. And by the way, that includes me. So let me make this perfectly clear to anybody who's listening. By no means do I ever, would I ever impose my own perspective as being the correct perspective. And I just want to make sure that that's clear, because what I'm saying is from my heart and from my brain, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right. And I think it's important that we can all recognize that. It's at the end of the day, I think it's all about asking questions and challenging each other and challenging ourselves ultimately.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. I think that's the most important thing about this topic that I have learned, having kind of been in this community for about 10 years, is that none of us have all the answers. And the only way we will figure it out is by talking. And, at times disagreeing or agreeing or just trying to figure it out together.
Well said. Yeah, and I'll say it's kind of a joke, but I avoided, watching a lot of interviews that you've done, because I've tried to remain super objective, in UFO reporting. And so it was a pretty big deal to talk to you today and kind of force myself to do the research, and ask these questions. And I think you've been really transparent and open, and just so everybody knows, there was no NDA. None of us signed any NDAs. There were no questions that were given to Lou ahead of time. this is the first time I think a lot of us have met. So thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. You guys remember to go to thebigphonehome.com.
Ladies, this is historic, and you're helping write history. And I want to thank you humbly from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate this. You know, this is an inspiration, not just to me, but to my daughters, who are the greatest accomplishment of my life. It's something that my wife and I, it's really the reason why we exist and live. And you know, ultimately, this is you're helping in a very dramatic way, especially now at a time in the world where certain voices are being muted. Unfortunately, you know, that's not the case here. And I hope that what we're doing here will inspire others, other voices that may be a little bit less quiet, a little bit more quiet, to speak up and to stand up and to recognize they do have a voice, and their voice matters, especially in this topic.
Speak up, guys. And I said there were no more questions, but I just was alerted to one from Ryan Sprague, and I'm going to go and ask this one because I've been kind of obsessed with this topic later, and this might be a good one to end one as we think about the future. So AI, artificial intelligence. The UAP task force wants to implement AI to gather data on UAP. I understand, this is Ryan, by the way. I understand this will expedite a lot of identifying a phenomenon, but will it be used for possible contact methods as well? Where do you see AI? Do you see AI in the future of alien contact?
Well, AI is the Wild West right now. AI is only as good as the teacher, and the teacher is usually a human being. So we need to recognize that there are advantages and disadvantages to AI. AI is great for crunching numbers. AI is good for predicting. But I don't think I'd ever be confident enough to allow AI to speak on my behalf to anybody or anything, whether it's my kids or, you know, an alien or anything else. I think that's a definitive human thing, and I wouldn't feel comfortable allowing anything other than a human to speak for a human. I do think that we need to use the technology that we have to our benefit, to the very best that we can. AI can do it a lot, especially recognizing patterns and being able to identify deep fake videos and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the decision needs to be made by a human on what to say and when to say it. I don't think we should. I don't think we should rely on something else to do that for us, because it's too important. I think the topic is too serious of a topic to allow something else to think on our behalf. Again, you know, that may be controversial and maybe upsetting some people in the technology field. Again, there are purposes for AI that I think help humanity tremendously, but I get kind of, maybe I'm just old fashioned, but I get a little weary when an intelligence that's not human begins to speak on our behalf. That's something I don't think I would endorse.
I just know I tried to play chess against AI, and it got real depressing real fast and real scary. It was a losing game. All that you can do is just delay the inevitable with AI. And then imagine the aliens have AI. So on that really terrifying note, you know, go over to the Big Phone Home, activate, call, email, tweet. Go follow, support everybody that is in this panel right now. I believe there are links in descriptions, but you can see all the names, so you should be able to find everybody on most of the channels. Because I think we're up against the hour. Yeah, so there's our host, the host with the most.
Well, what I was going to say is, yes, links will be added as soon as the show's over. We're going to add everyone's links just to confirm everyone who is here. But yes, those will be added. And also, we're going to give everyone an opportunity to let everybody know where they can find this stuff. So thank you so much, guys. If you did put super chat questions in the chat, there's so many. Jane, was the first time that she was using this, so you know we got to as many questions as we want. But really, this was about the ladies and their questions. And I will say this, NK, it was the first time I've ever heard you speak, and you really changed my thinking witnesses. Like, I never thought of it from that perspective. And wow, thank you. That's great. I can't wait to have you back.
Thank you very much. Very valuable. Absolutely.
Oh, so valuable. I really, really enjoyed that part of the conversation. And man, I maybe we can get the 3 of us or 4 of us together and really go deep on that conversation, because I think it's important. It's something that we're going to be focusing on. We're going to give it its own week, its own month if we have to really dive deep into the experiencer part of this, because I know you feel left out. I understand with you. I get it. We're just, for whatever reason, congressmen and senators want to hear from the pilots and the people who they give tax dollars doing all those expensive toys. But okay,
I think that'll change, Luis. I think over time, it's, again, I keep saying you can't eat the elephant all in one bite, but I'm very hopeful that at some point the aperture will begin to open and more data will come in from non-traditional sources. More data will come in from the people because I think the data is very valuable. We're still limited in what we can do with it, but I think times are changing, and I'm very hopeful that in 5 years from now we'll probably have an entirely different conversation about this.
Well, hey, Lou, we appreciate your time. I know you're coming back on Monday for an hour and a half for another wonderful panel. It's going to be epic. I cannot wait for that conversation. Enjoy a beer. Do whatever you're going to do, sir. Of course, stay healthy. If the doctor allows you to have a beer.
I have a long list of
chores.
Items of chores I have
to
do.
Yep, I figured. Lady Elizondo is calling. All right, sir. We will see you soon.
Ladies, thank you very much. Luis, thank you very much. Truly a wonderful opportunity, and I hope for each and every one of you we get a chance to do this again.
Absolutely.
This was great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So real quick, let's just go ahead and give the opportunity for everybody to say goodbye and thank you once again to everyone here that was on this panel. This was the best part of the show today, hands down. And it wasn't because of Lou, it's because of you ladies. Like Michael and I were sitting here talking back and forth. They're like, I've never seen anybody go this hard at Lue Elizondo. I love it. This is great. These are wonderful questions, and man, yeah. Anyway, so let's start with Jess. Please tell everyone where they can find your stuff. Go for it.
Well, thank you, Louise. Thank you so much for having me. It was a great time. You can find me. I'm live Wednesdays on 6 p.m. Pacific on the Fringe FM. You can find me on all social media at The Rogge Report. That's the ROGGE Report. And you can check out jessrogge.com for links to everything me. Thank you so much.
Pleasure was absolutely ours. And open invitation, come back to the show. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Lynn, how are you, my lady? How do you feel? Was that fun?
I'm good. I had a good time. Thanks.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. So please, floor is yours.
All right. Well, everybody can find me at Space Out Radio on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday nights. We're also at spaceoutradio.com and social media at Witchy Lenny.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this. And again, open invitation for you as well.
Well, thank you so much. I'd love to.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi.
Okay. Hi. Is it Nikita? Do you go by Nikita?
Actually, I just go by NK.
NK. Excellent. Wonderful. Well, thank you again for expanding my thinking and my perceived what I thought I knew. I always love when I think I know something and I'm walking through the world and I'm like, I'm so smart. And then somebody's like, no, dummy, you're not. Think of this. And I really, really enjoyed that. So thank you so much. I think I cannot wait to talk to you. Please, the door is open anytime you'd like to come back and talk to us. And we'd love to pick your brain behind the scenes also on how we could talk and represent this experiencer part of the conversation as best we can. I really, really want to learn more about it. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. You can find me on Facebook and NK Kranda, or you can send me an email at preserveyourexperience@gmail.com. I'm also going to be speaking at the International UFO Congress on September 9th.
Oh, yep. Excellent. Well, I can't wait to, I'm going to definitely pay for that conversation. So we'll see you soon, my lady.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye-bye. Jane. Excellent
Thank you, ladies,
job.
for bringing it.
That was so good. That was so
That
good.
was a blast.
Well, let's bring in Rather and Michael. See what they're up to. Gentlemen.
Wow. I was like, damn. Like Lue and I were legit going back and forth. Like they are being way tougher on him than we ever are.
Yeah, I just kind of sat back a little bit and just.
That was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, Lynn did great at answering everything, so he didn't.
He did. He always does.
So, yeah,
He's not afraid to answer the questions as best he can. I wish, man. I don't know. One day, we'll maybe get some of those really deep questions answered.
Just
but
accidentally share your screen and play that 23-minute video.
That would be great. I would not even the whole 23 minutes. Just give us like 7. I'll take 7.
One, I'll take 30 seconds.
yeah. At this point, just shoot it in my vein. Whatever you do. Okay. Well, Jane. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for hosting. We've got you coming back at the end of the show. And also we've got 2 more of these tomorrow and on Monday. So can you tell us who's coming tomorrow for Ladies Hour?
Yeah. So we've got Science Ladies Hour. So we've got Dr. Desiree Hertak, who has a really just phenomenal spectrum, of scientific experience. So it's even hard to summarize. So she'll be really amazing to talk to. And then we've got Chase Kletsky, who a lot of you know. So she's got this forensic background to bring to the table. Erica Lukes, so who you guys all know. So it'll be a different conversation than today, but I'm sure just as fun and I don't know, maybe fiery. I don't know. Maybe we'll get into it. Argument. Who knows? You never know. Right? You never know.
Oh man, God, I hope not.
Unidentified celebrity review. No, I doubt it. I doubt that will happen.
So Jane, real quick, can you just tell everybody where they can find your channel and stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I try to post videos on YouTube every week. So you can search UFO Jane, and I'm try to post on Twitter and Instagram as well. If you're in Texas, the Texas UFO's Facebook page is actually the biggest community that we have. So if you're in Texas and you want to track the day-to-day, go head over there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again, and give our love to Glurp.
Yes, I will.
Yes, give our love to Glurp for sure. And you might need some super glue or something. Whatever's on your desk, I think we just need
Yes,
super glue.
I know. I tried a new thing here and it didn't.
Man, why are you calling her out like that?
I did. I had two.
Just like a gorilla glue.
Crashes.
I love it. All right, my love. Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Jane.
and we'll see you. We'll see you in a couple hours.
Yep. See you in a couple hours.
All right. Bye. All right, you guys. So that was the Lue Elizondo Ladies Hour panel from the Big Phone Home 2, day 1. If you guys haven't watched all 3 days of the Big Phone Home, I highly recommend checking it out. They're available on the YouTube. They're available on podcasts as well if you want to listen to it at home or on the road. The thing with the podcast, though, is I couldn't upload an 8-hour podcast for obvious reasons. I think it cut off at around 7 hours is the longest podcast I could put on there. So go check it out. If you haven't listened to all these interviews, there's some really, really, just before that interview, we had Congressman Tim Burgett come on the show, and it was a really wonderful moment. It was not planned. We were trying to get him for the whole day, and he just popped in randomly. We were able to get in contact with him through Dan Warren, who is in his district in Tennessee. So it was a really, really cool moment. We'll be playing the Robert Salas. We're going to do 2 more Lue interviews that'll make this top 10. The first is going to be with Ross Coulthart, Robert Salas, Lue Elizondo, and I'm trying to remember who the 4th person on that panel was. I think Danny Sheehan, or Danny Sheehan was after. Anyway, the tension that was brought into the room by Robert Salas was really fun, and a cool moment in the show's history, and that day for that matter. So go check out all 3 days. Again, you can find it in the archive here on the channel. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. Some folks say that it had a really, really, important role as far as getting, congressional public support. So, we don't know if we could quantify that, but we do know that it didn't hurt the effort in getting this new NDAA. So we're super proud of those 3 days. It was a lot of work, and yeah. So anyway, we got about 10 minutes left. I might cut it a couple minutes short here, you guys. Just because the lady's got home, she's hungry. I got to go cook some food. Actually, I don't. We just literally put something in the oven and then we just take it out and eat it. It's one of those ready meals. Anyway, you guys don't need to know that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Tweet at me if you enjoyed the interview. It seems like for the most part, you guys enjoyed it in the chat. So I appreciate everyone being here. G West with a $5 donation. These recaps are fun. Thanks for hanging out in the chat room, Luis. My absolute pleasure, man. This is a really fun time with me. I get to interact with you guys a lot more than I normally do, and yeah, it's been really, really fun. This is actually, I think we'll probably end up doing this every year, last 2 weeks of the year. Blame it on, look at my girlfriend. She had me park her car in the middle of that show. I had to leave and run down and go park her car, find a parking spot. But we made it happen. It worked out. I miss Lynn Wallington sort of really getting into Lue there. I got to set up another interview with Lynn, Lue Elizondo, maybe NK, and Jane and the crew, and just, ask them the tough questions. I'd tell you, even after the Robert Salas incident, Lue Elizondo's not afraid of hard questions. He's not afraid of awkward moments. He's the way he's put it to me is he's a big boy. He can handle it. So we're going to keep asking him questions. We're going to keep putting his feet to the fire and see what kind of answers we get. Other than the Robert Salas interview, we're also going to be replaying the Lue Elizondo with his father, my father, the dad's interview, which is a really, really great moment. Not a ton of UAP information in that interview. We do get some questions at the end of that interview. That interview was the whole sole purpose of that interview was to understand who Lue Elizondo is as a human being, where he comes from, who his parents were, how he was raised, all of that stuff, just to add a human element to who Lue Elizondo is. Because I know we just see him, we say government official, government insider, counterintelligence. He's a human. He's a human being just like you and me, and it seems like he's just trying to do the right thing. We got to give him the room and the space to operate. So be patient. I think a lot of these questions that we do ask are going to start getting answers. Some will never be answered. Just prepare yourself for that. But I think a lot of them will be. So we'll see. Chris Lito, see Luis, happy holidays. Enjoyed it. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for being here all the way in Spain, and all of you guys in the chat. Thank you all so damn much. Event Tide, Case for Infinity. Is this Foy? F-O-Y? F-O-Y? Sorry. These chats are coming up super slow right now. I think my computer's running slow. But yeah, I appreciate all of you guys being here. It was an absolute pleasure. Before you get out of here, of course, I want to remind you guys that this show, this replay will be available on Spotify, iTunes as soon as the show's over. So check us out there. Leave us a rate and review. It goes a very long way to helping the podcast grow. Every month we break our podcast download record. We did it again this month with almost 2 full weeks to spare. We've already broken our download record for the month previous. So it gets bigger and bigger. And the reason why is because you guys are rating and reviewing. So we truly, truly appreciate it. Also consider joining our Patreon. The best Christmas present that you could give is the present of UCR. For as little as $1 a month, you guys can help us support the show. We're a public access channel. We run off of funds provided by you guys. So I truly, truly appreciate it. Again, there are no paywalls here. We don't put anything behind a paywall. As soon as the show comes out, it's available live to watch for free. And then it's put on a podcast and it's put in our archives and it's available for everyone right away. That's the way we're going to keep it. It's the way we do it. It's the way we like to do it around here. So appreciate any financial help you guys can throw our way. It's an absolute honor. Seriously. Thank you guys for all of the super chats that you threw in today. Also, I can't appreciate you guys enough. Larry's Kevin. Thank you so much for being here. And also want to let you guys know that we have, want to say thank you to the moderators, of course, the chat, Aaron Desario, and everybody else who's a moderator in the chat who was here today. Want to say we've got links for all of the ladies that were on the panel today, except for NK. NK doesn't have a Twitter handle. She's got a Facebook. So if you want to find her and ask her some questions, look her up on Facebook. She's pretty easy to find there. And then, yeah, also we've got a link to the merch store in my link. If you want to find a Patreon, if you want to find my Twitter, everything is under one link. So check out the links right below here. Truly appreciate it. Last but not least, want to say thank you to KGRADB.com family. We stream live every Friday from 1 to 3 o'clock. This week, for the next 2 weeks, there's no live shows with interviews. We're going to come back strong next year with brand new interviews. We've got some really cool ones lined up already so far. It's going to be a very fun January. It's going to be interesting to see what happens after this NDA is signed by President Biden. How many? Oh, thanks, babe. How many? We're going to see. Oh, I stopped playing the music. There we go. We're going to see what happens from a mainstream media perspective with the NDA once it gets signed. There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. So yeah, thank you so much for coming aboard, getting weird with me here in another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP, UFO. My name is Luis Jimenez. Stay safe out there, everyone. Peace and love. Love y'all. I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom, you're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.